Sure. So, as individuals, this is the next question. How can we be more unified together, white, black, Hispanic, in your guys' opinion? Mr.
Um,
Merritt, you got the floor, man.
I honestly, I think if you just put God first, man. Like right now, the country's divided. You know, you got Republicans fighting with Democrats. You got white people fighting with black people. And really, we all love the same guy. So it's like I would focus on that more than anything else. And like it's hard if you following God. Excuse me, that's the bell, man. Sorry
You're
about
right.
that. Yeah, but if you're following God, man, you know you're supposed to treat other people right, no matter what they look like, and that's how I feel. So I'm going to treat people I'm going to treat people right regardless of race, gender, whatever, sexuality. I don't care. Like honestly, I even have 2 years ago I was in a movie and it was called Cracks. It was a scary movie, but I met a few people that I would probably never met any other time, and they became one of my best friends now. You know, and normally I wouldn't have intermingled with people, you know, with them necessarily, but I'm glad I was able to get an opportunity to meet them and find out, like, man, it's good people, like, and that's what it's all about, man. You can never judge people. You can never look at somebody like, you know what, this is not a person I want to deal with, you know, or, you know, I don't like this person because they're black. I don't like this person because they're white. It's like, that's crazy to me. Like, I just want my kids to grow up in a world where that's not even an issue. Like, it's not even a problem. Like, I have a 7-year-old, I have a 3-year-old, and I have an 8-month-old baby boy. So by the time they're adults, I hope it's not even an issue no more. Like, I hope it's not. It's a hindsight. It's ancient history. You got to look in the history books and read about racism.
Mr. Bergmann, what's your thoughts on it?
Well, that was absolutely a gracious statement and word from Mr. Meredith. And as you know, I'm a pastor, but I want to be careful what I say here. You know, these past 4 years have been very, very traumatic for me. I don't pretend to know what it's like to be a black man or a black husband or a black father to 4 kids. Like, I have 4 kids, 2 boys and 2 girls. I don't even pretend to know that. I do know this about the black experience, is that I grew up in an integrated family, and a father figure to me was a man by the name of Otto McLaren as a little boy growing up until he passed. And he was in Washington, D.C., he and his wife, Justin. And she, ironically, she was a black woman, but she was albino. And this is back in the 60s. And I remember when they would come out and stay with us and visit us in California, and we would go out. Otto was a very prominent man in the civil rights movement in Washington, D.C. He was a Howard University grad. He was a journalist, a veteran. And, but I knew him just as Otto, this big, beautiful man with the warmest hands. And he would just hold me and kiss me and tell me stories that I sat on his lap and about the black experience. And, but I also saw the racism when we went out, especially because Justine was apparently white. He had the double damnation of looking like he was in a mixed race culture. And it was just shocking to me. My parents were immigrants. I was the first one born here in my family. So this racism thing was something kind of just startling to me. And my high school was integrated, of course, UCLA, the pros. I grew up and I have so many friends in the African American community that are big parts of my lives. These 4 years over the 60 that I've been alive have taken me aback. I saw the rise of racism again, and in ways that I didn't think was possible, particularly after having elected our first black president that served 2 terms. But I also have come to realize it's particularly because we had our first black president that served 2 terms that the kickback to that was this underbelly that's still there, alive and well, of racism in America. And for me, the key, I think, to reversing this trend is acknowledging our history. And so it's education. There are a lot of people growing up in this country, being educated in this country, that still don't get it. They don't understand how this country was formed. And this is not to put guilt on white people or guilt on other. It's just to acknowledge these are the facts, and these are the consequences to the facts. And this is why we have this deeply entrenched divide in this country. And it's still ultimately based on race. It ultimately is. And this concept of white exceptionalism and to be prioritized. And that's a lack of education. Because if anybody is open and honest and young and listens to history, you're still at the point in your life where you're not being conformed. You can be reformed, and you can see the truth. You can own what we did wrong, and then you can turn around and make it right. And we can get on the same page, as Mr. Meredith said, that we are all equal, that we can really live up to the ideas of our Constitution and our Pledge of Allegiance, that, you know, that we are one. This is one nation under God, undivided, with liberty and justice for all people, all LBGTQ, whatever my church is affirming. We're open to every class. We're open to every color. I'm open to every religion. People from different backgrounds, Hindus, Krishnas, Buddhists, they come to my community of faith, in faith, and we celebrate and we break bread together and we love together and we try to make the world a better place, and we try to become better versions of ourselves, starting there. So there is a massive problem that's been revealed these last 4 years that still exists, and it's not going to go away, but it has to go away. If we're going to move forward, if this country is going to continue to progress, and that has to be done through education and us owning the truth of America's original sin, and then making it right by just beginning with admitting we had a problem. That's how, you know, when I'm dealing with my alcoholic or my addicted brothers and sisters, I'm like, okay, first step is we admit we got a problem. We have a problem here. We got to admit that. We got to own that, and then we got to do what? We got to make restitution. We got to make it right. And that's the path, I think, ahead for America if it's going to survive.
This concludes our episode today, folks. We greatly appreciate the support. And if you're not a subscriber yet, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell to get all our up-to-date content. And if you like this video, hit the like button. We greatly appreciate it. We welcome you back next time.